Welcome to Living Life and Love.
I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. Yeah. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations, organizations, community leaders, and so much more. Sit back and enjoy living life in love.
Once again, I'm your host,
Mark Braxton. Raleigh, North Carolina.
Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. So on today's show, I have a very special guest, and that is Jared Price. Welcome. I always call you Mr. Price, so welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm honored to be here, Mr. Braxton. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. So if you're here in the formalities, we work together in the school system, so we're very formal. But for this show, Jared, you call me Mark. We'll do it.
I love it. I love it, Mark.
And then tomorrow we have to switch back to Mr. Price and Mr. Braxton. So, because I don't want the kids walking around tomorrow, Jared, Mark. No, you know how kids are. So, before we really get started, I always ask my guests to introduce themselves officially and maybe tell us where you're from and a little bit about your background, maybe what your work and something like that. Just make it basic, and then we'll get started.
Wonderful. I was born at Rex Hospital in Raleigh, grew up in Zebulon, North Carolina, went to Eastwick High School, and went on to East Carolina, and lived in Chicago, and I've been to Mexico and lived in Thailand for 5 years. And like I said, I'm a native North Carolinian, and I'm a good old Southern fella.
And you also are fluent in Spanish. Yes,
I am. I love, and I have a lot of friends. I think through my experiences, I've become a very global citizen and a global educator and student. And we can talk about it later. But yeah, I love people and love traveling, and I love to learn. So
absolutely. And you love to sing too, because I know you love to sing as well.
I don't sing, but I try.
I feel you. I talk about that sometimes where, I've been tricked into singing for the school plays, and I'm like, I can't stand singing. However, Mrs. Jones, that's our music teacher, she said, you're going to sing today, and I'll do it. So I don't like singing.
You did a fantastic job.
Oh,
Mark.
thank you.
Fantastic job, bud.
I'll act all day. I'll do the acting. I just don't like the singing, but if I have to do it, I'll do it. Just don't judge me on my notes. So for the listeners out there, of course, this is a vitiligo and awareness and education podcast. But as you know, with me, I don't always talk about vitiligo. I like to talk about other topics and other things. I'll have a relationship podcast, and I'll have business people on, and there from time to time I'll have somebody who may not have vitiligo, but they also live with other health challenges, because I don't want to say some of the things we live with are obstacles. We call them challenges, and when there's a challenge, we like to try to tackle those challenges the best way we can. And so, Mr. Price, I'm going to ask you this question. I know you live with the challenge. Can you share with us, the listeners, I guess, why you're here, what we're going to talk about, and then we'll really dig into it.
I want to say I'm very proud of you for your courage to share about vitiligo. And I think what I've learned about you is that you've turned on its head. It's empowered you to overcome it, and you become a great spokesperson for it, and it's made you a better person. And so I want to thank you for inviting me. I think I've gone through some of the same challenges as you. With my vision.
Yes.
And so I got some notes here. A lot of people struggle with macular degeneration. in my family, it's not so much that, it's optic nerve atrophy. And my father, he's who actually here, Floyd Price, his father had in the Price family have optic nerve atrophy, and it's something that you get through the family, through your blood. And so I got that through my father. Anyway, so what happens is that it optic nerve atrophy is where, let's say, for example, when you're born, you have batteries in your eyes and batteries in mind, and you can maybe get new batteries. You can, maybe if you had bad vision, you can get new glasses. With mine, the optic nerve, once those nerves start dying as they get older, you might start with 1 million, and then so as mine start to die, the signals that go to the brain, it gets a little bit weaker, a little bit weaker, a little bit weaker. And so your optic nerve is pink. It keeps good vision, good signals. Mine, as I get older, it turns white. And so the signal from the nerve to the brain is lost. And so I've had to deal with diminished vision, excuse me one second, as I get older. And so I've had to deal with many different circumstances because of my vision.
Right.
And so most people say, and I hate this, but they say, just get a better pair of glasses. And I just kind of roll my eyes because they have no idea.
Right.
And so hopefully this story that I'm going to tell you today is going to talk about some of my experiences about what I've had to go through. And just let me see here. So I got making sense of it. I had no idea what it was until I went to the eye doctor when I was 16. My sister had great vision. My brother had an astigmatism, but he was able to fix that with corrective lenses. With me, I think Dr. Sharon in Raleigh, he had studied optic nerve atrophy, but I was his first real live case out of the books. And so I realized that, when I was a kid, I was wondering why I couldn't see or as good as the other kids, or why wasn't glasses helping my vision. And I talked about, bear with me 1 second here, making sense of it. And 1 second. Yeah, and I used to hide it when I was in school, and I'd sit in the front of the room, and I didn't like wearing glasses, but I realized that I didn't want to feel different, and so I'd sit in front of the room and try to be a good student and be quiet and try to not put any extra attention on me, because I knew that something was different. I didn't know exactly what it was, but for me, I was a quiet, shy person, and I think if I had to really narrow it down, probably the vision, having to deal with the vision, was a factor in why I was so quiet.
Right.
Then again, as I got older, I got involved in theater and drama, which kind of brought me out of my shell. But I always had to deal with the vision, and as I got older, like now, it's become more of an impact in my life. But I'll get to that. But yeah, if you have any questions, just jump in. So,
well, I do. You said something I feel like is very important, and I want people to understand. When you are living with any type of condition, disease, or whatever it may be, you will always feel different. And people don't quite understand that. And that feeling different could be you being standoffish, not because you want to, because when I walk into this space, I'm going to be different. I'm going to stand out. Like I tell my students, I can't hide my hands. I cut my facial hair so they can see that I have vitiligo on my face, and yes, I can hide that when my facial hair grows in because it's dark. But as the spots keep moving, I can't hide those. And so as we're looking at people that are living, and I say living with various conditions or diseases, no matter what, we're always going to feel different. And, sometimes we say, well, with vitiligo, your skin is unique. Yeah, but it's also different. So when I walk into a restaurant, people are going to stare, you know. And same thing with your vision. You always know that you're going to see things differently than somebody else.
Literally.
Yeah,
Literally.
absolutely. And sometimes in that, we don't understand. Why is he looking at the screen like that? Why did he had to do that? It's always the whys that we don't understand until we talk to somebody. And then once we get educated about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So in that, I know you were talking about as a child, and I like that you brought that up, because I look at my students, and as we look at all of our students, we have a melting pot of students from various cultures, various intelligences, various abilities, and also those that are living with various conditions. And although we try to treat every child the same, you cannot. You've got to meet people where they're at, because how I treat this one child is going to be different how I treat just this child, because, well, they don't see the world the same way. They don't process the world the same way. The world doesn't treat them the same way. And that's just
right.
reality. So as a kid, I know you said you felt a little shy. Were there any particular experiences that you had where people didn't understand, but they treated you differently? Maybe your friends or anything?
Exactly. I'm going to fast forward to, I was at Eastwake High School, Mark, and we were in driver's ed. We all had passed the written part, and we could go and sign up for a learner's permit. And my dad can testify to this. I had to look in the machine, Mark, it's his headed,
Right.
and I had to read the numbers, and everybody was lined up. And I looked in the machine, I pretended, and I said, "Oh God, please help me, And he said, "Read the numbers." And I said, "I can't." He said, "What do you mean you can't?" I said, "I can't see the numbers." "What do you mean? They're right there in front of you." And all of a sudden he takes the sheet, it goes, "Special case here, special case, vision.
Oh my gosh.
And all of my friends were around me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. And I was the only person that day that was not signed up.
Right.
And if I could have pushed a button to make that guy disappear, I would have.
Yeah.
And I tried to act like it was no big deal, but it crushed me. It crushed me because it put me, alienated me.
Right.
And and those types of things. But I'll never forget, I was 15 trying to just fit in, and he did the opposite. He put me by myself and highlighted me and bolded me and and rung the bell.
But that was the 80s. And unfortunately, in the 80s, not to excuse it, we were very insensitive. We did not care as a society. We said some of the most vulgar and inappropriate and hurtful things, and it was considered normal. We never thought about how it impacted people. And I think about that because, like I tell my students now, I want you to be educated because I want you to grow up as an adult that knows how to treat people who are different from you, to respect people that are different from you, because we're all humans here. And everybody is living with something. Although we may be in denial, if it's not physical, it's emotional. If it's not emotional, it's spiritual, or it may present itself on the outside. I said, everybody's got something. It could be high self-esteem to the point that you're a narcissist, or so low that you don't want to be seen by society, or maybe you have a condition that makes your time limited, or a condition where you can't be outside, or a disease that maybe it is a communicable disease. There's all these different things we live with as a society. And we've got to learn how to treat each other with respect. When I think about that story, what you just shared with me, I'm like, man, that was somebody who wasn't educated at all. And what I want us to do in this podcast is also educate people, because there are times that we are insensitive to people. Like you said, we might say, oh, you can't see this? Just because we have good vision, we assume everybody has the same. And that we have to be more sympathetic and show empathy towards people and realize we're all different. And if somebody needs support, you provide it. You don't make them feel less than, Sorry, I'm going to start preaching in here.
No, it's okay. All right, brother. All right, Pastor. But what happened, Mark, was that as I got older, I defined my self-worth based upon how I dealt with the vision.
Right.
I let it define me. And I know now that, from my experiences, that I'm so much better than that.
Right.
But you're talking a 15-year-old kid.
Right.
I let it define me and my self-worth based upon how I what's the word? How I dealt with these various issues that came up. And they were always in my face, whether I was trying to get my license or I was trying to sit in the front of the room or not, or didn't want to wear the glasses or whatever the case may be. Or, but I learned to overcome, and I learned that I'm so much bigger, so much better than to be defined by my vision.
Absolutely.
But it's been a long journey. And I think I've been able to take the negative things and kind of throw them out and learn that I'm crafted, I'm molded, that we're the potter and he's the clay. The good Lord has molded me well.
Right.
But it's been a long road, and I'm still on that road. I'm still learning.
Oh, yes.
God is good all the time, and but it's I've had a lot of experiences, many of which I'm thankful for. But I've come out better on the other side, but at the time they weren't easy to deal with.
Absolutely. And we talk a lot about in the vitiligo community. It's good to hear you say that. The journey. We all have a journey, and everybody living with some type of challenge. It is a journey to navigate life and to feel what we consider normal. It's a journey because, and I always say there are moments. There are moments in life I'm great. There are moments in life where I'm like, there are moments, and that can happen day to day. Like I could start off the morning great, and by noon I feel, by 2 o'clock I'm back up again. By 6 o'clock I'm back down, or I go into a store and all these things. And that journey is something we have to figure out how to live. And I like what you said. It's ONA, correct? Is that the acronyms they use? ONA?
Optic Nerve Atrophy.
Yes. It does not define you. It does not. And that's what anybody living with any type of skin disease or any type of disease or anything, it doesn't define you, But I know sometimes we allow it to happen. I'm gonna say we allow it, because I was one of those people. I let what was happening to my skin define who I was as a person, or I can say who I was, because I'm not the same person back then. Where I would go, what I would do, because I was so worried about what people would think. And then I have to realize it's not about what people think. It's what do I think about myself, how I view myself. And that's why I said it was, because I'm not the same person. Even from 5 years ago, from when we met, you started at the school right around 2020.
I've been there 6 years at Fox, right?
Yep. So, 2020, yeah. So who I was then is not who I am now. I am a totally different person. And same thing
you
for
really,
you.
really are.
We watch ourselves. I think we're constantly evolving. And sometimes even to be able to come on somebody's podcast to talk, this is the evolution for you, to share your journey and what you're going through. Because sometimes we just take it for granted. Oh, that's Mr. Price, but on the flip side, we don't know the challenges you've had and the struggles. We see the Mr. Price is singing and being happy and all, you know, but we don't see those other sides, the other things, nor understand them.
That's called improv. I've learned to improvise and you know, put on a happy face.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times, and I want to share this with you, it's like even when I got into applying for jobs for teaching, for example,
Right.
I tried to hide the fact that I couldn't see as well, or I was afraid that what if the principal comes in and observes me,
Right.
something like that. So I was always nervous and just always somewhat fearful, but anxious about the situation. You know, whenever I knew I was going to be observed, it made me nervous. You know,
Right.
we in teaching get observed all the time, but I've learned that over time, like now, I tell the kids I have a reading machine, and I tell the kids that if they have a question, they can come up or bring their paper, because Mr. Price doesn't check your paper in the same way that your other teachers do.
Right.
And so I've learned to that I've transitioned from hiding it to being transparent
Right.
about my vision, which has empowered me, because now I've got all these people, friends, you know, students supporting me,
Exactly.
as opposed to wondering what's different about you. There's nothing different about me.
Absolutely.
So, but that was a journey. That's something I'm still
Yes.
dealing with now.
Oh yeah, it's always going to be a journey, and I do want to applaud you, because one of the hardest things for us, and I'm talking about being a man sometimes, is asking for help. We do not want to ask for help. We're going to try to do it. But I remember when I was with ECS2 and we were in there, and you would say, you always call me brother, could you help me? I need this screen bigger. I need this. And I was okay with that, because I'm like, I was there at one point where I didn't want to ask for help. You know, I still struggle with that sometimes, but but I try to put that aside and say, if I need help with something, ask. And guess what? We support each other, you know.
We show each other grace. And brother,
Absolutely.
thank you for showing me grace, because you never ever made me feel that I couldn't be open and ask for help.
Right.
So thank you for being a friend and showing me grace.
Absolutely. And you know where I learned that from? Working with our students.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, especially our students that may have special needs. I always talk about one of the students. He's probably graduating from high school now.
Wow.
But he was in a wheelchair, and I knew there were limitations to what he could do. But he was also showing me, as I'm observing him, that no matter what challenges he may experience in life, he was happy. And I'm sitting here in my feelings about my skin, and I'm watching this child have the best days of his life. All his friends are flocking around, and he's at recess having a good time. I'm like, what it is, he's living. And we have to learn how to do that too. We have to learn how to live. It's easy to get down because, you know, we have certain things, certain challenges to face, but you still got to live, you know, and I'm seeing you do that, you know, and every day when I see you, well, we don't see each other as often as we used to, because I'm down on the other end of the hall, but, you know, it's just the acknowledgement that we're still here, you know, our journey continues, and that's so important.
Amen.
Now, let's talk a little bit about self-esteem, because I know sometimes we think self-esteem is a one and done thing. Once you conquer it, you're good. But even as an adult, how does that, I know you talked a little bit about applying for jobs, but what about like workshops and things? Because I know, and taking classes, you know, how did that impact your I guess your next journey into taking classes, having to complete assignments, or did it boost your self-esteem?
Let me say this. My father, who I am, like, he's in the corner here. My father, it's like his father's vision. He was like totally blind, and my father's isn't much better. So I've learned how my father, who all of his life, like me, continues to struggle with his vision, but my father finds a way.
Right.
My father says, I'm going to help you with the dishes. I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you with that. And my father is a brilliant man. And if it wasn't for his vision, he could have been a rocket scientist.
Right.
And so my father, I've seen him I've seen him navigate the difficulties, and as I do every day. And so, as I said, when I was younger, my self-esteem was pretty low. And when I was in high school, I got into drama,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could improv. You didn't have to have a sheet of paper, bud.
Right.
You could
Right.
just go with it and improv. And so, and I learned that people stopped worrying about my vision and they'll worry about what was coming out of my mouth or what I was saying.
Right.
So, which empowered me. And that plus I learned the power of transparency. And so when I got into college, I wish I'd known in high school, but when I got into college, I learned to be transparent, and I saw the power in openness, and how people are like, hey, whatever you need, just tell me. I had no idea.
Right. Right.
So they'd give me extra time or whatever the case may be. And so I learned that people did care. But I think that through pride and
Right.
fear,
Yes.
pride and fear and stubbornness are horrible,
Yes.
because they kept me in a small box, as opposed to letting me we call it taking the bushel basket away and letting your love light shine. And so I learned that the power of my own voice was a way to liberate myself from these fears. And so when I got into, then I realized that I decided I applied for grad school, and I was scared to death because I was scared to death to apply, because heaven forbid, what happens if I get in? My mother's like, don't worry about it. You'll deal with it. Just
Right.
You're as smart as the next person. You'll get it. You'll find a way. And so by the grace of God, I got accepted to Baylor's PhD program or ED program. And I ended up working on a dissertation that focused on women principals that deal with working in school education, where men are still the leaders, and they're having to deal with, it might be with women. Some of them had to deal with the color of their skin, or they had to deal with sexism.
Right.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm no different, because I had to worry about not was the color of my skin, but I had to deal with vision.
Right.
Or maybe that person. I'm thinking, wait a minute, that guy, when he took my paper in the air, he made me feel different.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
you might feel different because your skin pigment is different.
Yep.
Or my vision is different, or I'm in a wheelchair.
Right.
And I realized that all of us in life have either visual or some type of disability,
Yes.
or something that makes us feel different.
Yep.
And so, but you think about it, if we all close our eyes for a second, we're in a big, we hold each other's hand, or what are we doing? We are the same.
Yes.
And so I've learned that through embracing my own differences, or how I see myself as different, we all are the same.
Yes.
And so, I love to share my voice and let people know that I've been there. I'm still going through it. And whether you can't hear well, you can't see well, you can't walk well, or maybe like you, sir, and again, I admire you so much, applaud you, whether your skin looks different, we all have a heart, we have so much to contribute. And so then I realized that that empowered me. I use my voice.
Right.
I use my voice and what's inside me to reach out to others that I care, that what your situation is valid and your situation matters.
Yes.
And anyway, not to get on my soapbox, but we're 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 all different. We're all unique, but we have those things in common. And if we can come together and
Absolutely.
support each other, those things that it's common sense, but when you're in the situation, it's not, it's not clear.
Right. Right.
And I
Absolutely.
finally, through people like yourself and others that we've been there, having that clarity is what you need to push forward.
Absolutely. Mr. Price, thank you for sharing it. There's so much I'm hearing that is very similar to what we go through in the vitiligo community, and we can relate, and you're right. No matter what, we have more in common than we don't. Like I share it with my students all the time. I said, we look for differences, but if you stop looking for the differences and focus on how are we alike, you find out we have more in common than you don't. And there's something you said in here. You were talking about fear and pride. Oh man, I would say fear and pride stopped me from doing so many things. And this is before vitiligo, but after developing vitiligo, it enhanced it. And you talked about theater. I had an opportunity when I was in college to be a part of Shaw University's Shaw Players theater department. I was asked I was asked multiple times, and each time I said no. I was so afraid to do it. I turned HB Cable down probably about 4 times because he saw something in me I didn't see in me. And I didn't see it in myself until, I've done the school plays. I'm always the father in the school play because Mrs. Jones, she didn't trick me into it. She said, read this part, and I did. She said, good, you're the father in the play, and I've been the father for the past 10 years, 11 years. And I stuck with it. But then I always share this story. And the reason why I share this, because I want people to know, regardless of what you look like, what you're going through, there are going to be those opportunities when somebody sees greatness in you. And you take that opportunity when that door opens. So back in September, well, but way before that, in June or July, I was invited to be a part of a play, and I'm thinking a part, a little baby part, a little tiny part. I say one word and I'm done. But I end up having I was actually the main character, and I wasn't expecting it, and I was a little nervous at first because I've never done a big theater production like that. Church, school is different. And then I'm around people who have been in plays before, and they've been in multiple plays, and this is my first time. But I also challenged myself. One of the anxiety parts that kicked in, I don't think I've told them that, was being on that stage, knowing that I'm going to have to be in front of people, and this is going to glow in the light, meaning my skin. But the day of the show, I forgot all about it. I was just into my character, trying to remember my 500 million lines. And improv, you talk about improv. Ooh, there were some parts of my lines I had to improv because I forgot them, but nobody knew. Not until after I looked at the video, I'm like, oh, my skin. I noticed it, but I didn't think about it during the play. And I started noticing I was doing things to even make it more noticeable, which was kind of weird. Like I would hold my jacket a certain way or talk with my hands. And I'm like, oh, I'm letting people see it. Hey, it's in your face. I don't think I did that on purpose. Just very unconsciously, I was doing that. But there was no fear about my skin. There was no fear about the anxiety. None of that presented itself once I was up there. And I think that's what we have to do when we look at life. Yes, we're going to be fearful. The pride kicks in when we don't want support. We don't need help. We could do it all on our own. I'm not going to ask anybody. And that's how I ended up becoming a part of the vitiligo community. I ran so fast every time. Katrina, who's the co-leader for our community, she would give me a card. I had 3 of them. Couldn't figure out how she would always find me at all these big events. But I didn't ask for help until I felt like I needed it. And guess what? It was a year before we actually met. That's when I really started working on my self-esteem, realizing, yes, my skin looks different, but who am I? And I think that's what we got to ask ourselves, regardless of what we're dealing with or going through. Who am I? Does this condition or disease or whatever it is define who I am and who I'm going to be? Because I got another journey coming up. Who I am today is not who I'm going to be next year or the year after that. We're constantly evolving, So
Absolutely.
yes.
You and I are 2 grounded educators that love people. And I think that and I can feel that charisma, that pride, that leadership in you. And so you've been able to you're humble, you're grounded, and you're a leader, and you're empathetic, and your door's open, you're welcoming the people.
Yes.
As opposed to Mr. Braxton, he's just not very nice. And, so I think that if we can stay caring and,
Yes.
and open leaders, that the door is open where everybody has a place at the table.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to share, if I may, that
oh yes, you may.
when I'm in a PhD program, and that like 2% of the population get a PhD.
Right.
Not, only people that have good vision get a PhD. So I'm thinking, whoa, I've been in the program 5 years, right? I've taken a little bit longer than the average person, but people drop out, Mark.
Yes.
People dropped out of the
Yes.
program. I'm still in the program. Whoa, that's a reason to be happy, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, what makes me so special? I'm stubborn. Okay. I'm hard-headed. Okay. I got a quick joke for you. What do you call the last person that crosses the finish line in a PhD program? A doctor. Whoa. I'm not there yet, but I'm almost there.
Right.
So, and I'm a humble fella, but knowing that there's got to be something special in me.
Absolutely.
For people that have good vision. I mean, life gets in the way. Things happen.
Yes.
You got to get out. But I'm still in the program. And my dad's, I contribute to my father, who's stubborn, but I got grit. I got persistence.
Right.
I got determination. So when I learned that my dissertation is focused on women, right, and how they navigate, these situations in leadership where males still dominate. And so I'm thinking, we're different. We're a situation where you might thought of the color of your skin, or if that you're a woman, or my vision. We all have our crosses to bear. We all have things we have to deal with. And knowing that I care and I can meet you there halfway. True, what you're dealing with is not exactly the same, but I care and I know how it feels.
Right.
And I want you to tell me your narrative, your lived experiences.
Right.
I care. I want to know. And so, so my participants in my program, the ladies that I interviewed, we quickly formed this bond and this sense of trust. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. So true, I've taken a lot longer than I think for Baylor. 36 months, you can get, a doctor. I'm like, what I really need was you to hold my hand and say, don't worry, brother, I got you. You take your time. And I think since then, don't quote me, I think Baylor's going to a regular, most people take 5 or 6 years.
Right.
I think the fact that, and I still want to say imposter syndrome, right? I have interviewed these principals where they didn't feel like they deserved to be there.
Gotcha.
I'm like, wait a minute. These are ladies, right, that have good vision. They didn't deserve to be there. Wait a minute.
Right.
I feel the same way, right?
Right.
But so we all, regardless of whether our difference is visual or not visual, we all can relate.
Yes,
but I
absolutely.
think we got to use the power of our voice to meet each other halfway.
Absolutely.
There's lots of people, regardless of their pigmentation or they're in a wheelchair, they can do it.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing. The only thing that could prevent them from achieving their goals is what is their belief system.
Yep.
In Spanish, si se puede, you can do it. And the fact that you and I are in education and we're starting with these kids at a young age to let them know that you
can do it. I have used that with students that, the self-esteem is not there. They can say, I can't read this word. I say, guess what? That same word you're trying to read right now, it's a 3-syllable word. There are adults that can't read it either. But guess what? You're still trying. I said, I don't want you to give up on yourself. Keep trying. And that's the same thing with us as adults. We will give up sometimes because it gets tough. It gets hard, or we're not achieving to the level we think we should, but you don't give up. Even with taking my classes, I ran into some rough spots where I'm like, oh gosh, do I just stop? I said, no, I'm not going to stop. I said, life is going to deal you those moments where it gets chaotic. Everything happens and you just feel like, nope, don't want to do it anymore. Like when my dad passed, I just felt like, why did I want to even start this class? Like I'm grieving, but I know he would want me to continue, even if it got hard.
Amen. My mother, God bless her soul, she was, and Pauline, God bless you. I love you, Mom. I miss you. She was my biggest fan and support. And she says, there's nothing you can't do. She says, you can never get enough education.
Absolutely.
You tell them the help that you need, and they will help you. You can do it.
Right.
And you know what? I'm still continuing this journey, and she's right here, and she'll be there, God willing, the day that I graduate.
Absolutely.
And
that's the thing. We've got to believe in ourselves, and we also have to have a support system that believes in us, which could be family, friends, colleagues, our children. I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Price. At the school, sometimes I do worry, like not worry, but like, well, I have my skin, it looks different. How would the kids receive me? Then those kindergartners walk in there. I'm not their teacher. They want a high five. They talk to me. They, sometimes they'll run out of line and give me a hug. And I'm like, I don't know who this kid is, but they know me. They like, hey, Mr. Braxton. I'm like, hey, and it makes me feel good. So this past week, Friday, I actually did 2 presentations, one for the entire 3rd grade. Part of our unit was about the skin and conditions that impact or affect the skin. So I talked about vitiligo and shared my journey. I saw kids light up. I saw kids happy. And I'm thinking, they don't live with vitiligo, but they're happy that I shared my life, my story with them, because now they learn a little bit more about me, And then I went down to 2nd grade to do a presentation for one of our students who just started with vitiligo. She just started our school, but she's living with vitiligo. And her classmates were so happy. She was happy. But I'm looking at the kids that don't have vitiligo and how they were interacting. Oh, they had all types of questions and concerns, and they wanted to give me fist bumps and high fives. I'm thinking, you know, when and I'm saying this because I look at our kids, our youth. They are loving. I don't care what the world says. Our kids love people, especially at such a young age. But we got to continue to feed that to our kids, that you love each other. You understand each other. You know, just because somebody's different doesn't mean they're a bad person. They're just different. And you go and talk to them, find out things about them. I say we laugh, we joke, we cry, we have emotions, feelings. We like movies. We like to go out to eat. You know, like we're pretty much the same. We just have sometimes different cultures,
Exactly.
different family traditions and values, but we're still people. We're still on this planet for the same purpose. You know?
Amen. Amen. That's exactly right. And what a great thing that, you know, we really are lucky to be able to get them at a young age where
Right.
it's not too late to teach them these things.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's where I'm proud to be an educator, because if we can teach them these things and they stay with them, and maybe they'll grow up and they won't forget. Hey, I remember what Mr. Braxton taught me.
Absolutely.
I remember Mr. Price what he said that day. We can make a difference.
Absolutely. And what's going to happen? They're going to grow up to be those adults that understand when they see somebody that may need support in whatever way, they're going to show empathy and help, you know, or treat them like a person. Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, just because you have a disability or a challenge or whatever, you may not need help, but you sometimes may just want to be treated like a person, you know,
or have somebody listen to you.
That's it. Listening. Oh, yes. My kids, they know I always got a story to tell. Can I share a story? They're like, yeah, go ahead. Because they know I'm not teaching at that point, but I am teaching them. They just don't realize it. But yeah, everybody has a story to tell, and everybody wants to be heard. And that's so important. Before we wrap things up, one last thing. Let's talk about your self-transformation at this point. And then we'll wrap it up after that.
Sure. So we all know the story of the caterpillar, you know, and so much of my life I was dormant, you know, asleep in this space that I couldn't move, and I wondered if anybody could even see me, that anybody even cared. And what happened was, Marcus, I was able to learn that these things, the difficulties along the way, had turned into be like a little notch in my belt, an experience that each experience got me as a caterpillar a little bit closer to escaping. And so I realized that after all this was said and done, that I was able, I had experienced this and this and this and this, and then poof, I was able to find my own happiness and my own light, and my feeling that I am special and that I can make a difference. And then I was able to escape that cocoon, and I had literally turned into a completely different creature, where now I could fly. I had these different colors, and I was able to, and I had literally transformed into a new person that has learned empathy and my own experiences, and empowered me to know that others are a lot more alike me than they're different. And so I'm able to flip the page, and I'm able to use my experiences and show them empathy and show them love and caring,
Right.
and lend an ear and show them that I care. Because in this society, if you look at me, you might not know that I have a secret and it's below the surface. You might want to, you know, but I am a leader, but I'm a leader. I'm a leader that is human centered,
Right.
that cares, that'll meet you halfway, that uses humor, that's a great listener, and all these things that I can use to, if we sit down, transform you and make you feel comfortable and meet you where you're at. So I learned that I have all these skills. They've always been there, but they
Yes.
were hidden because I was so focused on my vision that I did not meet the grade. But I realized that, whoa, I have all of this to share.
Absolutely.
And so I'm able to, I am worth it. And I can meet people where they're at. And I think moving forward, God willing, when I get through this degree very soon, God willing, that I'm going to be able to share all of my gifts as you
Right.
do so eloquently in the classroom, to share all of my gifts with others. And but I think that I'm not glad that these negative things happened to me, but they kept me grounded. They've kept me humble
Right.
and gratitude. When I wake up every morning, Lord, thank you so much for what I have, because what I have, brother, is um, is so rich and so special that it outweighs so much compared to what I don't have. And
Right.
so that's the vision, and that's the my vision. I tell my dad it is vision in life. This vision right here
Mm-hmm.
is overrated. And I think the vision, what we have right here,
Right. Right.
and the fact that we can reach out and reach people where they're at,
Absolutely.
is not to get on my soapbox, but I've learned that I have a lot to share, and that everybody has their gifts and they can share those gifts with each other,
Absolutely.
because people like yourself and myself and others around you, we care, and we want to listen to your story, whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
Uh,
You know, Mr. Price, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things you said, it made me smile for a little bit. In the vitiligo community, we talk a lot about the caterpillar and the butterfly. Now, and I've shared this story before, so people that have heard this, you're going to hear it again. Back in 2019, doing a summer camp, little girl kept calling me a butterfly. Little 5-year-old every day, butterfly. That was the nickname she had for me. And I guess because she saw the patterns of my skin like a butterfly, and it did bother me at first. I'm like, this little girl was, keep calling me a butterfly. She's kind of aggravating me. But I was sitting in the car one morning before starting work, and I started really thinking about a caterpillar and a butterfly. I said, in life, when we see those caterpillars, I watch the kids, they scream, they yell, it's ugly, get it away from me. Ew, it was creepy because the way they move. I said, but that caterpillar knows that one day it's going to transform into something new. It knows it has to go through a process, but in the meantime, it's constantly feeding itself all the positive things it needs. And we have to be the same way. We got to constantly feed ourselves with positivity. We get it. There are going to be obstacles. Caterpillars have obstacles too. There can be birds. Car might run over them. We step on them. We do all types of stuff. But those that make it through, they know I've eaten enough. Now it's time for me to go through my transformation. And once it goes to that transformation, when it comes out on the other side, that beautiful butterfly, it's still the caterpillar. It's still the same creature. It just sprouted its wings. It knew all along everything it needed was inside of it. And that day it sprouts its wings, we are in all butterflies. Oh, it's a beautiful butterfly. Look at it. But guess what? It's still a caterpillar. It just
Amen.
sprouted its wings, and we're the
Deep
same
down,
way.
it's still the same person, but then again, it's
Absolutely.
never again the same.
Right. It may be the same in some parts of it, but on the outside, it spread its wings. And guess what? It flies. It's no longer crawling. It is flying. And we're the same way. We learn how to spread our wings. We can fly. You know, sky's the limit. You can go wherever you want, do what you need to do, but also you make sure you take the right people along with you on that journey. Even if they're physically not going, those right people could speak life into you. You know, and that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast. I'm glad we had this conversation, Mr.
I'm
Price.
honored. I'm honored. You know, this is not something. This is something that took me years to feel comfortable sharing. So I'm honored. Thank you for, first of all, sharing your story.
Thank you.
And I'm honored, and thank you for letting me share mine, because it took. I do feel kind of like the butterfly today because I was able to share,
Right.
and it's really liberating. It's liberating to share that with people like yourself, because I know that you care.
Yes.
And I just it feels good to get it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree. The first time that I shared my journey was on a podcast, a radio podcast. I was asked by Valerie, who runs an organization called VitFriends. She said, I want you to come on the podcast and share your journey with vitiligo. At that point, I've never talked about it. Nobody ever knew how I felt about it. No one, not my family at the time, not my ex-wife, nobody, no one. And I said, well, who's going to interview me? She said, nobody, you're just going to talk. I'm just going to talk. Okay. And I did. I shared everything I was feeling. I felt like I needed to get it out because nobody ever asked me how was I feeling about vitiligo. Nobody ever asked me what was it like to look in the mirror and watch your skin changing and you can't stop it, But once I did that, and I felt free. But then she asked me would I would host my own show. So I started hosting my radio show for about 3 years during the pandemic. And then I gave it a break when my dad really got sick. And I said, I'm going to focus on taking care of my dad. Then I went to a conference and one of the doctors said, it'd be nice to come on your podcast. I was like, oh, I guess I got to start it back up.
Wow.
So I decided to start it back up, put it on YouTube. And now I want people to see my guests because radio is good, but you got to see the people, And I think that's so important for the listeners and for the guests. And it is liberating when you feel like you've shared your story because your story is so important. It's very important. So, Mr. Price, we can go on for another hour, but I'm gonna stop us here just to honor your time and my time. But before we go, I always like to ask my guests to leave the listeners with some words of encouragement. So you can share a few words and then I'll wrap us up.
Boys and girls, we love you just the way you are. You're special. You don't ever have to change. We love you, and we're always here for you, regardless of the color of your skin or how you walk or how you see or whatever language you speak. Si se puede, you can do it. Share your light. They say at church, don't hide your light under a bushel basket. You share the special person that you are with others, just the person that you are. Don't ever change. God bless you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing it, Mr. Price. And for the listeners out there, as always, I thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. You never know who I'm going to have on. I like to talk to people and I like to hear different stories. And I think moving forward, I will be pulling people from various communities with various challenges because I think it's important for us to hear all the stories that are out there. But this is how I always wrap up my show. It's called Living Life and Love because, as always, you got to live your life. But you want to live your life with love. You look around at the news. Love is gone. I'm sorry. We are losing the war on love, but guess what? The war is not over. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep showing love to people
Amen.
all around the world, not just in our country, but all around the world, because everybody deserves to be showing kindness, caring, empathy, sympathy. Everybody deserves to have a big hug, to feel like you belong because you do. But, and I always say, you got to love people. Love that person that's speeding down the highway, cutting you off. You don't know why they're speeding. Sometimes just cause, sometimes it could be emergency. You just never know. Love your neighbors, the ones you know, the ones you don't know. Love your colleagues, the ones you talk to all the time, and the ones that never talk to you. Still love them.
The person at the grocery store who wants to get in front of you.
Absolutely, with the big cart trying to push it. Love that person. Hey, look, and telling you, love the kids. Our kids are in need of love. The world says that, we're selfish, think about ourselves. Love our kids. But most of all, and I always say, love your spouse. You got a spouse, love your spouse.
Amen.
Your girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever you date, love that person.
Your little brother, your big brother.
Yeah, you love your siblings.
That's right.
No, I love your siblings, but for real, love your siblings. But even that your enemy, love that person, because you don't know what they need. Sometimes the best thing you can do for somebody who hates you is to pray for them. And that's all you can do. But still love that person, But most of all, before you can do any of this, look in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. That's where it's going to start. Well, once again, Mr. Price, thank you for being here on the podcast.
God bless you, sir. Thank you.
God bless you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Look forward to talking to you tomorrow at work. Yes.
God bless, and keep doing your magic, Mr. Braxton.
Absolutely. Boom. The magic's in the air.
God bless. Good night, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye
care.
now.
All right.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.